Thank you, Father Benny, for the beautiful words of introduction and welcome. I feel very humbled before these words. It only makes my resolve to be better as a disciple. Thank you so much. Dear Father Benny, dear Father Joy, the Superior of Suvidya, dear Father Anthony Mukundotam, the Patriarch of our MSFS family, I identify myself with them always. And then all the fathers here, MSFS fathers, many of them are my students, and all the brothers studying in Suvidya, and all the religious who are the neighbors of the MSFS family here. I am very happy to be here this evening to share my own understanding of the teachings of the Pope regarding the protection of minors. It seems two teachers were talking with each other. One was telling the other, I'm so much upset when my students look at the watch during my class. So I don't want any sisters or brothers to look at their watches. No, that means it's very boring, isn't it? But the other teacher told her, my students, still worse, they not only look at their watches, but they take it to their ears to check whether it is running. So when Father Benny said 1.5 hours, some brothers got frightened, I thought. Doesn't matter. Whenever you don't understand or you feel sleepy or bored, you are allowed to get up and ask some questions to interrupt my talk. I always tell Father Benny challenges me and sometimes defeats me also, but now I challenge everyone, if you make me angry in the class, I will give you dinner. Or you have to defeat me in table tennis, I will give you dinner. If anybody defeats me in table tennis, I will give them a grand dinner, I used to tell them. Doesn't matter. That's the lighter side of it. Very good. I told the seminarians the other day, first and second year philosophers at St. Peter's, brothers, if only God were to ask me to ask any grace, as he told Solomon, I would tell him, I want to study once again my first year philosophy in St. Peter's, I told them. I don't know what brothers felt. They all clapped for nearly 1.5 minutes. Maybe they thought they were fortunate to study their philosophy there, I don't know. But I told them the reason. You know why? The whole future is before me if I am first year philosophy. And then I have read the whole Bible in Tamil and also prayer of the church. I will listen to the Bible 7 years before becoming a priest. I will know by heart the whole Bible and preach the word of God effectively, not simply relying on cock and bull stories, I told them. That was my real intention of telling them. I'm happy. I addressed so many old people in the past 2 weeks. But today I am addressing a group of young people whose future is before them. Coming straight to the topic, my dear brothers and sisters, I always believe the credibility and effectiveness of our ministry depends to a large extent on our resemblance to Jesus Christ. Resemblance to Jesus Christ, conformity to Jesus Christ. Sometimes we think, I am better than that brother who is all the time sleeping, lazy, who has no talent. To God concerning some good which is possible and better. You make a promise to God concerning chastity, concerning poverty, concerning obedience. Promise to God. Giving a promise to God. It is better, it is also possible with the grace of God. You know it and you freely give it. That is the meaning of the vow. And that too, public vow. When is a vow public? A vow is public when it is accepted in the name of the church by the lawful superior. So lawful superior accepts your promise to God in the name of the church. This is something very radical, binding you have to live. We are going to see how you make the vow of chastity and what are its consequences, especially today. But then before that, about poverty. Why all these vows? Again and again, the teaching of the church say, because we want to imitate Christ. Speaking about poverty, it says, though he was rich, for our sake he became poor. 2 Corinthians 8 chapter 9th verse. Though he was rich, for our sake he became poor. How to live it? You have to be poor in fact and spirit. You must be industrious. You must be stranger to earthly riches. You must be dependent on the superiors in the use and disposition of goods. So taking the vow of poverty and being lazy, no meaning at all. Those brothers here who don't want to work hard are not fit to be religious. You have to work hard. Work hard. In fact, a rich celibate will be like a fat runner. You can't be a celibate if you are not simple in your life. That's very important. And then obedience. We often have for our evening prayer, for example, though he was in the form of God, like that brothers will say. Those who sing loudly only least to obey also sometimes. Though he was in the form of God, he obeyed even up to death on the cross. Submission of our will to the will of the superiors. Wonderful. And we see God in our superiors. Because the will of God is manifested to us through our superiors. One sister was telling me, Father, I think I became blind. Why, sister? You said we have to see God in our superior. I'm looking and looking, I'm not seeing him. Another sister said, what a terrible God we have, Father, in our What a terrible God. We have in our superior. We have to see God in our superior. Obedience, submission of your will to the will of the superiors. Now, coming to the most important, chastity. The first, all the three vows are important. The first, in Canon 599, it is explained. For all religions, Canon number 599. Why? First, the why of it, at least 3 biblical passages are cited as the motive for the vow of chastity or evangelical counsel of chastity. First one, for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. For the sake of the kingdom of heaven. You will study in your theology later on also what is for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. Preoccupation with doing the will of the Father, to establish justice, to practice charity, to be compassionate. I want to be preoccupied with that. No time to think about marriage and family. The first one, Matthew 19th chapter. The second one, of course, Jesus was made fun of by the Sadducees for his belief in resurrection. Jesus said, in the kingdom to come, there is no marrying or giving in marriage. They will be like angels. By your life of chastity, you are going to remind today's hedonistic world, pleasure-seeking world, that there is a life after this life. That is the most important sign of the world to come. Whenever religious are looked at, people must be reminded of heaven. That is the second reason. Now another passage, 1 Corinthians 7th chapter, very beautiful. St. Paul says, the married woman wants to please the husband. Married man trying to please the wife. I want you to please the Lord. In other words, to serve the Lord with an undivided heart. To serve the Lord with an undivided heart. This is what is very beautifully said. In the context of dioceses, 2 more things are said. To be more available for people. To be more holy. This is the purpose. Concretely, how is it lived in day-to-day life? One is being unmarried. Celibate means being unmarried. You renounce marriage. You renounce marriage for these purposes. Second is, it is not enough to renounce marriage. You have to live perfect
purity. The canonical word is continence. The word used is continence. What is continence? I always say, avoidance of those sexual acts and desires that are permitted only between the husband and wife in the context of marriage. That is also very important, my dear fathers, sisters and brothers. Avoidance of all these sexual acts and desires that are permitted only in the context of marriage. Not enough to be unmarried. We know, we hear, so many people are not married but indulging in sexual activities with opposite sex or with the same sex or by themselves. All these are against the vow of chastity. I remember one of my favorite passages, 1 Thessalonians, 2nd chapter, 10th verse. Very beautiful. Paul recalls his ministry in Thessalonica and then he tells the people, challenges them. Before you who believe, I was pure, I was just, I was blameless. 3 adjectives he uses. It seems even in those days, the sexual abuse is not the creation of this century. Even in the 1st century, there were some itinerant preachers who were getting sexual favors from some of their people, it seems. That's why Paul says, I was pure. I was chaste. In other words, I was chaste. I was just. I was blameless. And after saying this, Paul says, you are witness, God is witness. I wish all our MSFS family, our priests, seminarians, tell the people, challenge them, before you who believe. I was also like St. Paul. That would be really wonderful. That is one of the reasons. This is how we understand the evangelical counsel of chastity. Chastity. You promise it to God at the time of your profession and you renew the profession, then you make the perpetual profession, then all the MSFS clerics will become also deacons. Before diaconate, even though you have made perpetual profession, you have to once again make a promise of celibacy to the bishop. Once again. Earlier, according to Canon 1037 of the present code, which came in 1983, if you make perpetual profession, you need not make the promise of celibacy once again. But then now, the church says no. Already in 1989, they changed the rule. Even the religious who made perpetual profession, when they come for diaconate, they must once again make a promise of celibacy. That's how it is said. Now, what are the ways in which it is to be observed? You know, right from your time you were candidates, my dear MSFS brothers, you have been taught you should have an intense prayer life. You should have special devotion to the Mother of God. You were told actual special devotion to the Mother of God, the example and protectress of consecrated life. And then you should work hard, because the devil always operates more vigorously in a person who is lazy. Work hard. The day the person begins to rest too much, he will begin to rust. Father Benny used to say, many die at the age of 20 and then buried at the age of 80. They stop learning. If you stop learning, then you are dead only. You are dead only. Moses did not lose the sense of wonder at the age of 80. Why? It is burning, but it is not consumed. He went near the burning bush. But many of them, they don't want to learn anything. Actually, listening to a conference like this is like reading many books. Some people don't come. They think they are busy with the apostolate. Very busy with the apostolate. They will not get. Yeah, the poor will always be with you. Do not miss any formation program. Working hard. Hard work. Hard work for the cause of the gospel is very important. And then healthy community life. The way a person goes alone, then something is dangerous. You know, some of our brothers are very sad that they are not allowed mobile. Mobile is only a tool of entertainment till you become priest. It is not a tool of apostolate. How many people you want to contact during the time of your formation? Now, if you have a mobile, you will go on asking, what did you have for breakfast today? Is it afternoon? What did you eat today, every day? Why all this nonsense? You have to know how often there can be common mobile where you have to contact some people. It is not going to be tool of an apostolate. That is my personal view. Don't curse me for being so traditional. What Father will be a bit revolutionary and encourage us, you may be thinking like that. That's what I am thinking. Even with regard to the use of mobile, Canon 666, Antichrist number. Canon 666. The sisters who are allowed the use of mobile must read that canon also. In using the means of social communication, the canon says, the religious must observe the necessary discretion. The religious must observe the necessary discretion. And they are to avoid what is harmful to their vocation and dangerous to the chastity of consecrated person. Very clear. Avoid what is harmful to your vocation. Mobile is like a knife. You can use it to kill yourself and others. But avoid what is harmful to your vocation and what is dangerous to the chastity of consecrated persons. Healthy relationship. You know, during the holidays, seminarians are allowed use of mobile by their family members. They were called for 1 week program. That time they all were allowed to come with the mobile. You know, soon after supper at 8:15, 7:45 supper, 8:15, all seminarians disappeared. The professor got shocked. Where are each one with their mobile going on talking? 8:15 to 11 o'clock there. This is the way some of the seminarians wreck their life. Is it needed 2 hours of talking and going alone? The day you begin to avoid others, something is going to be basically wrong with your observance of chastity and your celibacy and your life and your commitment and consecration to God. You can be out. How much time you can spend. Even with regard to the use of vehicles, sometimes we will always say, the faster we go, the more people we meet. It doesn't happen always. The faster you go, the more people you avoid. That's all. The faster you go, the more people you avoid. So this is there already. The practice of it, you have been taught. I can speak about this from the theological point of view for so many hours, but that is not needed now. Now, what happens when people violate this vow of chastity? What happens? Certain sins can be punished only by God. Every sin is not an offense. God alone knows. In this context, protecting yourself, sublimation of your power, your energy, not indulging in masturbation, not reading unhealthy books or watching porno. All these are sins. All these are sins. All these do not help you to become a full person, to surrender yourself to God. Your conversation with others also. It should help you to live your life and to help the other person also to live his or her life fully. That is understood. Okay. But then there are some offenses which are grave. The law will say grave, serious offenses. And then which are external. So sin is sometimes remains only internal. These offenses are also external. It is alright. Jesus said, if you look at a woman lustfully, you commit adultery. For that you can't dismiss people. You have to dismiss whole congregation then. Sometimes. So the offense is external. Then we can take. Then it is imputable, means the person can be held responsible for that offense in this area. Offense in this area. And then finally it must be juridically proved. It must also be proved. That's why law uses in Canon 696, for example, these 4 adjectives. The offence must be grave, external, imputable and juridically proved. In these cases, we have to give warning to the person and then dismiss. First warning, he doesn't repent, wait for 2 weeks and then give second warning. Don't give one warning in the morning, another warning in the evening. Minimum time for the person to be given for changing himself. So these are mentioned 2 warnings, and then General Council will vote when it is a serious matter. At least 4 councillors should be there other than the general. Then it will be confirmed if it is pontifical right by the policy. Then the member will be dismissed and should be dismissed also in some cases. This is the normal way. It is there in Canon 696 to 702 in Canon law. It is mentioned there how to dismiss a religious who is frequently violating celibacy. For some more serious matters, you cannot give warning. For example, a religious procured abortion. A religious is living in concubinage for a long time. In these cases, you cannot give warning and all. Must be dismissed. But then we have to ask the person to give explanation. Then we have to dismiss him. Must be dismissed. Canon 695 speaks about it. Any religious knowingly, willingly involved in abortion must be dismissed from the congregation, or living in concubinage must be dismissed, the canon law says. Then one more is, you cannot give even by law itself, because of the seriousness, by law itself the religious will be dismissed. That is, defection from the Catholic faith. You become a Protestant or Hindu or Muslim, automatically you are dismissed. Superior has only to declare it. And then second one is, you marry civilly, even civilly, you marry somewhere, immediately the religious is dismissed. Any religious want to be automatically dismissed, tomorrow catch hold of somebody and marry in the register office. Superiors will be very happy because only they have to write, on such and such a day, so and so married, automatically dismissed. One letter is enough. One letter is enough. Anybody? This is very simple. This is 694. Recently, Holy Father added one more automatic dismissal, that is 1 year without permission outside the congregation. A religious is without permission, unlawfully, even though superiors looked for him, not wanting to contact, 1 year, automatically dismissed. Recently, 3 months ago, Holy Father added one more automatic dismissal. This is there already in the law. Now, the problem is, in spite of all this, there is so much of violation of celibacy by the diocesan priests and this evangelical council of chastity by the religious. Worse still, they are abusing people who are helpless, who are minors, who are below the age of 18 years of age, boy or girl. Not that it is the invention of this century. It might have been there in the earlier centuries. Now it is easily spread and highlighted. People become more and more bold in exposing these kind of black sheep, false shepherds in the Catholic Church. So it is becoming more and more rampant. Initially it started in United States of America, then it was in the Western Europe. Now this phenomenon is coming out in the open in so many countries. Children being abused, altar boys, altar girls being abused. Don't think it is only the men are abusing. Even the women religious are abusing those who are entrusted to their care. The church has been battling with the idea, already something is there in canon law. For example, for diocesan priest, canon 194 says, automatically removed from the office when a person attempts marriage. That is one thing. 1394 says, automatically suspended. And then 1395 says, they must be dismissed. Some of them especially if the sin is against a minor who is below 16, he must be dismissed. But then dismissal is possible only through a judicial procedure entrusting the case to a tribunal of 3 judges. Only then you can be dismissed. So these punishment, which is there already in the code, is not enough, the church felt. From 1990 onwards, so many problems. And then in the year 2001 is a landmark. There was an apostolic letter like this, motu proprio, SST, it is called in short form. That means Sacramentorum Sanctitatis Tutela. That was the first law that was introduced, explaining what are the grave delicts, what are the serious offenses in the church. In this context, they mentioned 5 against Eucharist. For example, your profanation of the Holy Eucharist, or celebrating Mass by a person who is not a priest, or celebrating one element without the other, or both elements outside the Mass. All these things are sins against Eucharist. Then some sins against the sacrament of penance was also there. Violation of the confessional seal, recording of the confession, and then also forgiving a person with whom the priest sinned against the 6th commandment. All these are again sin against the sacrament of penance. In this context, they mentioned another grave offense, that is abuse of minors by the clerics. Abuse of minors, sexual abuse of minors by the clerics. Then in the year 2010, that SST, Sacramentorum Sanctitatis Tutela, was updated, and then it made it more serious. For example, the victim can abuse the perpetrator 20 years after he reaches majority. Suppose the boy was 10 years or girl was 10 years when she was abused sexually. Then at the age of 38 also the person can accuse the perpetrator. This person was 50 years, now he may be 78. In the old age, the person can be also accused. Like that it changed. Then they said not merely below 16, below 18. In addition, they added child pornography, possession, distribution, production. Those who are involved in that also. All these people must be denounced before Rome. The matter must be reported to the Congregation of Doctrine of Faith. Like that they said in 2010. That was another development. In 2012, our own country, besides the universal declaration of rights of children by United Nations, our own country came with a law, POCSO, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences. Important law, all must know. If anybody abuses the child, they should be in prison. Every adult who knows about it must report the matter. And superiors have a more serious obligation to report the matter, and POCSO must be observed very carefully. That is the civil law of our country. Recently, in our parliament, it was also, POCSO was updated and serious punishment, death penalty, if anybody abuses those who are below 12 years of age. That is also okay. Then in 2015, our own country, all the bishops of the 3 rights, CBCI gave our policy very clearly. We stand by the protection of minors. They will be welcomed when they are reporting, and then we will follow a policy. We will constitute inquiry committee and then finish the matter within a matter of almost 4 to 5 months. Like that our policy is there. That came in 2015, 1st October 2015, our norms came. Still the problems continued. So many places this situation came, especially last year when Pope went to Ireland, so many people wept before the Pope because they were abused. The families, children. Then Pope himself was accused by one Archbishop Vigano
who was nuncio, he said his reporting was not taken seriously by Vatican, especially against one Cardinal Theodore McCarrick. And then there was also the accusation against the Australian Cardinal Pell also. Then in Chile, so many bishops were accused, either doing it themselves or not taking action. More than 10 to 15 bishops submitted resignation to the Pope. So last year was a terrible and painful year for the Holy Father, especially with regard to the sexual abuse and then lack of action by the superiors. In this context, this year, in February, there was a summit of more than 300 important church leaders and experts on this matter. They said, we have to do something more. Immediately, Vatican State had some new laws. And then finally, as Father Benny said, on 6th May this year, this document, Os estis lux mundi, these new norms were promulgated on 6th May 2019 and it came into effect on 1st June 2019 already. This document is to effectively deal with all these perpetrators of the offense, and then all those superiors who are keeping quiet, doing nothing, or doing something to cover up. Against them, this document has came. The Holy Father said, as Father said, every seminarian, every religious, every superior must know this document and practice it very seriously and sincerely in their obligation of protecting the minors. This is the history. I briefly stop now. If you have any questions, then we will project the important points of this document and then we will try to understand. Any questions you have, anything especially for the brothers, maybe some of the terminologies I explained might be a bit difficult, but doesn't matter. Sisters and others, feel free. I only went back to the history of this document. Any questions? Jijo, you can ask, you might have come across. Anything you want to know regarding this? Or maybe after the exposure of the document you will come up. Now itself, any brother wants to ask anything. What I said was not clear this point, or maybe because I rushed through, because some of the things may be difficult for you, terminologies. Sisters? Yes, Father. Very good.
Is there any time frame for reporting? Suppose we come to know that something has happened.
Yeah.
Before this many days when report, is there any time frame?
Yeah. So with regard to our civil law book, so within 24 hours it says, civil law. But with regard to this, as soon as possible, it says immediately, it says it is not give the time frame. It does not, a church law, now we will see the document also, expose the document also, and we will know it also. Time frame, as soon as possible. Immediately, if you are delaying, when upon investigation it was found out that you are delaying, you have to prove why you delayed. So, immediately, that's what, but like civil law, it doesn't say within 24 hours like that. Yes, yes. To whom to report? So now that's what, now we will come to the document. Yeah, there are many questions will be answered by the document. That's what I said. Regarding any word which I spoke so far, the document will make it everything clear. Okay, we will go to the document. Then I myself will, if you don't ask questions, I will ask individuals questions. Okay. Okay. Now, new norms for the whole church. I am not going, don't be afraid, I am not going to read everything. Afterwards, I will project the document. Now, main points. Okay, come to the first part. So, the title is You Are the Light of the World, taken from Matthew 5th chapter. No? See, why this document? Fight against sexual abuse. Secondly, to deal with the superiors who are covering up or not doing their duty. Sexual abuse committed by, not about the lay persons who are committing, but committed by priests and religious. Religious means all religious institute members, secular institute members and societies of apostolic life members, all of them. So far they were speaking only about clerics. That's why I thank Father Benny and Father Joy for calling these religious. They must know this document is addressed to them. Addressed to them, not merely to the clerical religious, but all the people, all the religious. They have a special thing. Clerics, the word clerics is, it refers to three groups of people. At least know the canon law well, though you will study later on. What is the meaning of the word cleric? Cleric means deacon, priest, bishop. Don't say cardinal. Cardinal is priest or bishop, that's all. Or pope. Don't say pope. The word cleric refers to three groups of people. Deacons, priests and bishops. And then religious, the word actual word you should use, though they call CRI, it is useless word, not appropriate word. So it is CRI, simply all are religious. They are not in a religious congregation, they are also CRI. But actual word, the Vatican department is called Institutes of Consecrated Life. Who are coming under that? Religious institutes and secular institutes. Then societies of apostolic life. For example, Vincentian sisters, they are not religious in the technical sense. In the broad sense, they are religious. The Pallottine sisters, they are societies of apostolic life. Or Anchile, near our seminary, they are secular institutes. But they are institutes of consecrated life. These distinctions sometimes they don't know. Old name was religious, simply having CRI. And calling everybody under this umbrella. Okay, I have nothing against it. You continue it, CRI. But religious belongs to those group of people who are three identity. I said about only one. I spoke about identity of the religion. I skipped now. So at least some people should have asked. You said, Father, three essential characteristics of religious. You didn't mention the other two. You should have told me. Yes, first one, profession of the evangelical counsels. Second one, fraternal life in common. Second identity of religious is community life. That is fraternal life in common. And third essential element of religious is separation from the world. Separation from the world. Some religious want to be one with the world. That's why even though they called religious congregation, they wear color sarees only. And becoming the envy of the lay people. They are one with the world, it seems. Your identity itself is separation from the world. I can understand when there is some persecution and all, you don't want to be identified and suffer and all, I can understand. Color saree all the time and all kinds of external things, worldly things, and wearing all kinds of golden chains and watches, golden color may not be good. How you are promoting a particular value, I don't approve of it. Sorry for talking like that. See, you need not attract your attention by your watch. Your watch is meant for you to know the time, that's all. To know the time, that's all. My dear MSFS brothers also, I tell you, I am not so much taken up. Don't say, my brother gave, this one gave. What value you are communicating? Immediately some people will always tell me, Father, that is not important, Father. Or being prayerful, kind, compassionate. I don't rule it out. In addition to that, the external signs you use also must manifest Jesus Christ. Must manifest Jesus Christ. That's what is my thing. In passing, I am ready to speak whatever I am convinced of. It is for you to take it with a pinch of salt or bag of salt. That's it. Okay, that's it. Be simple. Attract people by your virtue, by your spirituality, not by the things you possess. Not by the things you possess or show it off. Okay. So this is the document. So all are called to be examples of virtue, integrity and holiness. All the baptized. What is religious? Religious life or consecrated life is following the Lord more closely. Jesus did not ask everybody to go and sell the property and give to the poor and then come back. Only that rich young man, he wanted to have him as his close disciple. That's why. So he didn't want to be the close disciple. Matthew he called, he followed. But another person he called, he did not follow. He did not call each of them to sell the property. But you have committed yourself to follow the Lord, not merely like others, but more closely. Resemble Him in your approach. That's it. Okay, go to the next. See, every sin has threefold consequences. Three kinds of people are really harmed terribly. The Lord, the victims, the community. The Lord, the victim, the community. My dear brothers and sisters, last 4th, the Pope wrote a beautiful letter to all the priests of the world on John Maria Vianney's feast. And then the Pope is very sad. Thousands of priests are slogging, laboring hard. All their good work is undone by these 2 or 3 cracks who abuse. He doesn't use these words. There are 2 or 3 priests who are abusing and causing scandal to the church. See, one priest was caught there abusing a minor. Immediately I asked, did he study in St. Peter's Seminary? Then I am more sad. If it is MSFS Priests, oh my God, I don't want to hear that. Benny will be shocked, superiors will be all the more shocked. We don't want our priest to be part of it. Every priest who does it is causing harm to the church. But if it is those who studied in Suvidya so many years, experienced the Lord in the study, learning, formation, we don't want any of our conflicts. One thing, the purpose already at the beginning, Father told me, the purpose is you are young, don't allow yourself to be abused by anybody. Any superior, any senior priest of the day, anybody, don't allow yourself. Make a firm resolve to protect the minors. Firm resolve to protect the minors. You will be doing regency shortly. Warden, be careful. See whether other boys or other wardens are abusing. You are responsible. Now the Holy Father is putting the responsibility on the whole church. And then you have to report the matter. Even if it is painful for you. So these things you should know. Not that you are going to abuse. Primary reason, of course, you should not abuse. You should not abuse anybody. Adult or any other person, you should not abuse. Today we celebrate the feast of Saint Maximilian Kolbe. Martyr of charity. He gave his life. He said, leave that father of the family. Instead of him, I will go to the room of hunger. And then I will die. If one prisoner escapes, out of 99, one will be chosen by Lord. 10 will be chosen by Lord to go to the room where nothing will be given. Food will not be given. So one man was weeping because he can't see his wife and children. And this man offered to die in his place, Francis, during Hitler's regime, during the Second World War. And he was the last to die because even though they didn't give food to him, 9 people died, he was the last, he didn't die, then they injected and then made him die, martyr of charity. What a wonder, his parents were there, this Francis was there, his family was there when Maximilian Kolbe was canonized, how they would have felt. We have to give life to others. It's not enough to say, I came to serve, not to be served. I came, but then you are killing, you are not only failing in your duty to serve, you are making others serve your pleasures. My God, terrible. Let the children not come to me. But what kind of conscience you can do it to the children, to the vulnerable persons? Okay. So this is the result of the document. Now, not only to, as I said already, combat sexual abuse and also ensure bishops and religious superiors are held accountable. One important thing is superiors must do their duty. That's why this document. Superiors cannot keep quiet. Prophet Ezekiel said, if you shout at them and then they make mistake, they will be held responsible. If you don't shout, you are responsible. That's what. Okay, next. So they said an office for reporting in every diocese, maybe in the congregation level, even provincial level. You have to make the people concerned say that you can come. Religious, it is not expressly said, but then even at the religious level, I would suggest that there is a priest who can be approached when such a matter occurs. All the bishops are told that before 1 year they have to inform the Holy See. When such a problem comes, some people say, we don't know whom to go to. People should not say that. Every bishop, individual bishop must inform the nuncio that this is the place people can go when they have this problem. That's it. How the church takes it seriously. Next. Then, what is the purpose? The idea is anyone who has suffered can always have the recourse to the local church, can approach the local church for the redressal of the grievances. Okay, next. Obligation to report. This is very important. So far, we said who can report? Right to report only parents or guardians. Now it is said this obligation is on the whole church. On the lay people, they can report. But anybody who is a cleric, that means deacon, priest, bishop, must report. Every religious must report. With first profession, you become religious. You know, one sister or father is abusing minors. You must report. Don't say, I will listen to my conscience. Now obligation is imposed on you by the Holy Father. Sometimes some seminarians say, regarding some priests and religious, novices say, already in the novitiate she was doing these things. Why you kept quiet that time? Already in the seminary, first year philosophy, he was doing this. And with all these misbehavior, is going on, growing in that, and has a hard conscience, or lost his conscience, and spoiling so many people. Once you make a first profession, you must report. Before first profession, you can report, consult with your spiritual director also, and then you have to nip this menace in the bud. That's what. So if somebody is not reporting, they are not obeying the Holy Father when sexual abuse comes. Next. Not only child abuse, abuse of authority also. Suppose there is an adult seminarian, more than 18. Sometimes novices also can be abused. Is possible. There may be more than 18. They are all children. Because those subject to the authority, immediate authority, are all considered children and vulnerable persons. Or a teacher is working in MSFS College. So she cooperates with the superior, a religious. She can say, I cooperated with him in this bad behavior because I was afraid I will lose my job. She might have given consent, but she is also a vulnerable person. That's why now the definition of vulnerable person is explained. Those not only who are physically handicapped, we say now differently able or mentally handicapped, but also persons who cannot even for some time not understand or not in a position to resist the advance of the authority.
Somebody is under your authority. That person, the cook of the priest, or the gardener, or the washerwoman, or anybody who is under your authority, you do something with them. They are considered by the church now as children, indefensible people. Even if they give consent, their consent is not taken seriously. So know it very seriously. All of you, now all those listening to me here should not be involved in any of this, and then should protect those under their care also from being abused and themselves not abused, and then the superiors must take the necessary action. Okay, this includes cases of violence against religious by clerics as well as abuse committed against adult seminarians or novices. Okay, next. Dealing with cover-ups. What do you mean by cover-up? There is something, but they say nothing happened. Like so far we were saying we have to protect a holy occasion, no? Like that, in that process we have lost the occasion of so many lay people. They transferred the priest, transferred the sister, and in the new place, she or he is abusing many others. My God. That's why now the church is saying, don't transfer them, remove them. They are not fit to be religious, they are not fit to be priests. Especially when they abuse minors. Okay. What is this superiors can do? They do something in order to protect the offender by action. The omission, they don't take the necessary action. Why? The purpose is to interfere with civil investigation or canonical investigation, administrative investigation or penal investigation for punishment or against a cleric or religious regarding these delicts. Okay, next. The protection of vulnerable person, that's what I already said. Not only children are abused, but vulnerable persons who are helpless, who can be easily wounded. Vulnus means it is injury, wound. Persons who can be easily wounded are those who are under our authority, those who are in some way dependent on us. So definition is any person in a state of infirmity or sickness, physical or mental deficiency, or deprivation of personal liberty, he lacks the freedom, which in fact even occasionally limits their ability to understand or want to otherwise resist the offense. They are not able to resist you because of their condition. So those people also should be protected. Okay, next. Then, respecting the laws of the states. Today, though I have a PowerPoint on POCSO, I am not explaining that. You will know more about it some other time. POCSO is Protection of Children from Sexual Offences. 2012, it was enacted for India. It is a serious law. Now, this document says to the whole world, follow the civil law with regard to protection of children from sexual offences. That means this document tells the Indian church, follow the POCSO minutely. Don't prevent people from going to the police. Don't impose secrecy on the people. You have no right. This document clearly says. We can know how the church is taking the matter very seriously. Okay, next. Sometimes the children already suffered. Some parents may scold, why did you go to that priest? Why did you go to that sister? Jesus said, let little children come to me. Now parents have to tell, don't go to the priest, don't go to the sister. Sometimes they have to tell, I know she is of that type, one type, like that. Why did you? They are already suffering, they are scolded. I was dealing with a case in which a minor seminarian was abused. And then the school father was simply scolding the boy, you only spoiled our priest. How can the minor seminarian, 17, spoil the priest who was there? He did not spoil. It can happen. Protect yourself. You are better to die than to sin. Don't cooperate with anybody. St. Dominic Savio is the example, the end. You should not cooperate with anybody when they try to abuse you. Better to go to heaven as a non-priest than go to hell as a religious or as a bishop. So you have to be very careful. That in that particular case, that the boy was abused. The mother was scolded. What, you want help from the congregation? That's why you are doing like that. Like that, the mother was scolded. The mother wept before me. I was authorized to investigate by the Holy See. And then like that also it happened. Don't think it is only outside. But then even it is happening inside the country. Inside the country. Sometimes within the church, altar boys, seminarians, it can happen. It can happen. Human nature is weak everywhere. It can happen. So those who report are taken action upon. Vengeance is shown to the reporters, whistleblowers. Nothing should be done. The church will take it seriously when it is brought to the knowledge of the church authorities. Next. Then, only thing is, seal of confession is inviolable. If you know from this confession, you should not reveal it. A priest should not reveal this matter if he comes to know it only from confession. Only from confession. There is no exception. But then in some countries, they are forcing people. What I advise them, you are not supposed to know the identity of the penitent. So you say, I don't know who. Somebody confess, I don't know who it is. You can always say. Or have a grill and you can always say. But still they force you. It depends on the intensity of your faith to die for the church. Confessional matter, even for goodness, you should not reveal. That's what the church presently teaches. Afterwards we can go. Next. Investigation of the bishops. Not merely priests and religious. Provincials, superior general, bishop, archbishop, nuncio, cardinal, everybody is subject to investigation. Everybody. Either they themselves are abusing. That's what happened in the case of Cardinal Theodore McCarrick. At the age of 88 now, the Washington Cardinal has become Mr. McCarrick. Dismissed from the exercise of priesthood even. No public celebration of Mass. At the age of 88, now it is proved. The church wants to show that it takes action. It takes action because he himself was the perpetrator. Not only he covered up many cases, because when he was perpetrator, why should he not cover up also? He himself abused many seminarians and priests even, it seems. That's why now at the age of 88, he is made a Mr. McCarrick and made a lay person, not your excellency, holiness, your eminence. So far he was called your eminence. Now go man, you can say. So that is a kind of treatment. The church wants to show the signal at this time. Okay, the one I said against these people, either they were involved or they covered up or they did not take action. They failed in their duty. The church wants to show only Holy Father is not mentioned, cannot be investigated. We hope that Holy Father will not do it and will not cover up because the first C is judged by no one. That is Canon 1404. Okay, next one. Archbishop should take action against the ordinary bishops if accusation comes against them. Not because they abused, in many cases they did not act. Holy See will authorize him. Okay, next. See, sometimes people say you institute a committee or constitute a tribunal, you appoint somebody. They say, I met him, I could not meet him, then I found him. They say, tell the archbishop or senior bishop, 90 days time only, finish the case. 90 days you can't keep quiet. Every 30 days you have to send a status report. What happened in those 30 days? In exceptional cases, time may be extended, but they want to say timely action, serious action is taken. They want to show that. Next one, involvement of the laity. You know, in the new law of the church, 1983,
Layperson can be notary and even chancellor. But when priest's reputation is involved, good name is involved, the notary should not be a layperson. That's what the law says, canon law says. But now they said no. In the investigation especially, appoint the laypersons. If a girl is abused, you have to appoint a sister, a lay woman who is competent, not merely priest. Lay persons must be made use of if they are qualified. Recommendation. Bad name, they will be scandalized. Doesn't matter. The priest has already scandalized enough. Doesn't matter if laity are scandalized. Make use of the lay people, the church says now. You know, once again, the seriousness with which the church looks at the matter. Involvement of the laity. If they are qualified, they can be even judges. One judge or two judges, lay judges can be there. But the investigation level, involve them, the church says. Next. Presumption of innocence. Presumption of innocence. Suppose somebody is accused, immediately we don't conclude that he is guilty. There are also people who are innocent and then accused. Till it is proved, they are presumed, or the supposition is that they are innocent. They are innocent. But then what will happen in ordinary circumstance when a person is publicly accused? The provincial has to remove him temporarily and send him on leave, administrative leave. But for the others, it will look like punishment. It is not punishment. In order to proceed with the investigation, we have to relieve the person temporarily from his duties, that's all. That's it. That is the principle the church stands by it. All right. But then POCSO, civil law is more strict. Some of you who know Tamil, no, Vadivel, Joker, no? You have seen him, no? He will say in one film, they will tell him that one who is fair color, he will not tell lie. Like that in Tamil. One who is fair color. Then he will be weeping, going on shouting, wailing. What this? I don't know how they found out this new law. One who is of fair color will not tell lies, he will tell. POCSO says children will not tell lie. Once you are accused, you are presumed to be guilty. Civil law says like that. Under POCSO, you are supposed to be guilty if you are accused by children. So, at least church law is more on the side of the accused till he is proved innocent. Till he is proved guilty. Sorry. POCSO says you are guilty till you prove yourself innocent. Okay, next. Then conclusion of the investigation. After everything is over, whether the religious or diocesan, you have to send to the congregation for religious and congregation of doctrine of faith the matter. And especially congregation of doctrine of faith will tell you with regard to clerics how to deal with this cleric. Then next, concrete commitment. This is the final one. The church, the Holy Father says, there must be emphasis on concrete actions. There must be conversion of hearts, all right. But it must be supported by concrete and effective actions. Supported by concrete and effective actions. These are the things that the document says. Now, time for too long I spoke, now you can ask for your clarifications. In addition, some more things are, don't say there is no fund. There must be established a fund to deal with these cases. One question people often ask is, what about innocent? Yes, in any system, there is always possibility of error. Some innocent people will be surely accused. In my experience, 90 seminarians who should not have been ordained are ordained. Only 5 seminarians who should not have been sent out are sent out. Like that, there will be some cases of innocent suffering. But the innocent people can always go to the court, ecclesiastical court, church court, to defend themselves. For that sake, we cannot say we should not really deal with these people seriously. Okay, now fathers, any question, brothers? I want some brothers, at least third year philosophy students, come out openly and ask questions. Okay. Yes, sir. Very good.
So far you have spoken in the case of abuse, for example, okay, a minor similar is abused, there will not be any concrete evidence against the person concerned. So after 10 and 20 years, he may try to defend himself by using his power against the person. So in that case, what would the father? There will not be any concrete evidence against the person. So in that case, how would the church take into consideration these things?
Yeah, okay. Thank you, brother. See, now, so many years also, after many years, now you heard recently, now it has died of Me Too movement. People say, why you did not do at that time. So the person can say, according to church language now, vulnerable person, so I did not do that time. So church also grants the person. Now, any penalty can be imposed on any offender only when the guilt is juridically proved. The accuser must have proofs. See, now the particular boy, his testimony is one kind of proof. Now, we will ask that victim, so-called victim, the accuser, did you tell anybody at that time, your parents, your friends, that you are suffering? Or did you keep it a secret? Then we will ask his one. He was warden there, or novice master there in that seminary. Did any accusation of this sort was brought to you? All these will be considered only when it is proved. Just because after 20 years one boy says that I was abused, we will not immediately punish him. The accuser must substantiate his allegation with sufficient proof. Sometimes when there is not sufficient proof, because of one statement, if you tell that somebody is the offender, then we have to send out the whole congregation. One boy can say, I don't have any evidence. All the MSFS abused me. Then you have to dismiss the whole congregation. So you have to have some proof. The accused person and the judge, the competent authority, will go into the matter from different angle. However, the preliminary investigation itself, for this case I mentioned, I had to travel far away to Wayanad. I traveled to here this side to Shakleshpur. I traveled to Pune. I traveled to so many places to conduct the preliminary investigation itself, to substantiate. Then I gave my opinion. So like that, not because somebody said we can simply find fault with somebody. Okay. Thank you, brother, for the question. You have to prove your allegation with proof. At least you shared with somebody, no? He would have shared with you. You will be asked, did you share it with anybody? For 20 years, did you keep it only to yourself? That one we will ask. Then you may say, yes, I kept only to myself. Then they will say, about his conduct also we will see. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
The penalties mentioned about the cover-ups.
Yeah.
Are the cover-up cases?
Yeah.
Are the penalties mentioned against those who are covering it up?
Yes. Actually, in 2016, already the Holy Father said, those people who cover up will be asked to resign from their office. One serious penalty is that they will be asked to resign. General, provincial, bishops, archbishops, cardinal will be asked to resign. You have to prove also cover up. They have to prove what are the actions they have taken. 2016 the document came. The name of the document is As a Loving Mother. Type in internet, only 3 pages the document. As a Loving Mother, if you type, then the document will come. Now also they will be removed from the office. What is the punishment? I always tell even the local superiors, when I go for local superior seminar, some of the superiors are there, not as prophets, but puppets. And they don't see, they don't hear, they don't speak. Why they are superiors, we don't know. No, they don't see, they don't hear. Superiors are like watchmen. Sometimes when I go to St. Peter's at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock from the airport, I will see a watchman
deep in slumber. I can't enter my own house where I lived 30 years. So what type of watchman, what to do? Sometimes they, because of a less salary, they find some useless people also as watchmen, and then they don't do it. So you are superior, you are responsible, watchman. And then when the watchman himself abuses the people, how much more? The shepherds. Recently I was addressing a chapter of religious. That day the reading was, let little children come to me. Do not hinder them. I told, go to each of the community. Are little children coming to God? Little children are not below 18. All the vulnerable people, so many lay people do not come because of the scandalous life of the religious. I myself have heard, my whole family and my relatives have stopped attending Sunday Mass because this priest, this religious, behaved in such a way. The other day I was talking to one sister. Then I said, I told her, I am passing this way. If you want, I will visit you. I said. She said, Father, don't come only. She said, she got shocked. Why? Because in my parish, my brother was so good to the priest, but he ran away with a sister. That's why we don't want to receive any sister, any priest in our family. They told like, see, this is the adult case, bigger case we know, for example. But then with regard to children, I myself in Italy, when I was traveling from Rome to Milan, a lady, she was about 37, she told me, we don't go to the church because I was abused as an altar girl, she told. My parents don't go, but still we do a lot of charity, she said, when I opened a conversation with her. Like that, you are hindering. And then the other day they said, Jesus asked us to forgive. We forgive, all right. I always say 3 kinds of reasons for punishment. One is reform of the offender, okay. But 2 other R's are there. Restoration of justice and reparation of scandal. That's why we say, you are not fit. There is no place for people in priesthood or religious life who abuse the minors. There is no place. Here again, some people will say, I only touched him. I only put my shoulder on him, all that. It also depends on culture to culture. Gravity of the offense is there. America, a priest went for house blessing. She asked the girl to sit on his lap. As in India, 7-year-old, she ate too much of KFC chicken, I think. And then she is a little big, maybe. Her friend saw her, who was 18-year-old, neighboring house. What did the priest do? He asked me to sit. The parents are good to the priest. That friend told her, you need some pocket money, no? You will get $15,000. Just give me a complaint. You come with me. We will complain to the police. And then lawyer comes in. He gets some money. So they tell the priest, don't go to the altar boy's room. Finished. Don't go. Don't touch them. Don't do anything. This priest is innocent. But then that culture, somebody or some others have misused, touched here and there, everything. Not necessary. The conjugal relationship has been completed, or the sexual intercourse has taken place. It is not necessary. Even in other ways you are abusing, action must be taken against you. You are unfit, unsuitable. Don't allow yourself. Keep your prudent distance. And then you are always a public person. You can't say, let the world say what it wants, my conscience is my judge. You cannot say that. You are a public person. You have to deal with it accordingly. And you should be chaste and be seen to be chaste. That's it. Okay. That's why Father was asking, regarding this, they will be asked better to lose their office. That is the worst punishment. Yes. So another brother wanted something. We don't have time. A few more minutes, okay. We'll take.
From the minor seminary, we have learned that
if
anybody is revealing their secret, we do not reveal it to anybody.
Yeah.
So if any of my companion brothers
Yeah.
come and tell that
Yeah.
I have done such things, so
Yeah.
don't reveal this.
Yeah.
It's not a confession. So in that case, what I will do?
Very good, brother. That's what. Now that's why even the victim is told, cannot be told you should keep secrecy. Now as religious, you have an obligation to report, not in becoming religious. Before becoming religious, you can report or not report. But then, now, in the light of this document, I would say, if the spiritual father says, don't reveal it to anybody, after becoming a major, if you tell them that spiritual father or anybody else who tells you not to reveal, will be in soul. So they should not tell. They should not tell. They should not tell, don't tell it to anybody. The obligation to secrecy with regard to child abuse cannot be imposed now. Civil law, you are only walking on the road, a boy is weeping. Then you say, what happened? So that man touched my private party, that's why I am weeping. You are supposed to report to the police. You are supposed to report to the police. If you are an adult, if you are more than 18, you are supposed to report to the police. You only went for walk. That boy afterwards says, then one seminarian came here, I told him also, he did not bother, then police will come and tell you, ask you. So these people will be punished even in civil law. Even in civil law, that is the danger is there. Sorry, while speaking, I did not give much time for your discussion, but then it went on like that. I wanted to stop at least 15 minutes ahead, already time. Any other? Okay, 2 more questions I will take. Yes, brother.
Father, when a seminarian is being abused,
Yes.
and he is afraid of the superior,
Yeah.
and the friends, especially on social media.
Yeah.
And is there any? But he wants the measures has to be taken against the issue.
Yeah.
But is there any possibility to directly communicate to the Holy See?
Yes, that's what this document says. You can directly communicate.
And how the measures will be taken?
Measure they will conduct. This one, okay, Sira. See, both in civil law and in canon law, they speak even now of confidentiality and secrecy and keeping the victim's name not being spoiled much. In civil law, for example, the child need not go to the police station, police must go to the child. And police must not be in uniform, they must be in ordinary dress. And when the child is examined, a medical examination, the child's parent or whom the child trusts should be there. So sensitively they are dealing with the case. Now in many cases, seminarians do not tell. You can write to the police, action will be taken. You can even mention that because of this I am afraid in this seminary with all the necessary details, and Holy See will deal with the matter in this way. Actually, a few cases I have dealt with have been reported by others, a third party to the Holy See, and then also investigation is being conducted even before the coming of this document. That's why the freedom is, one thing is, during the time of suffering the person sends, another is after being freed from the clutches of these authorities, the person complains. So it is a warning. The church has come out with this norm only to say that we are still serious about taking action. That is the reason. There will be things will be done. That's why now, as far as possible, retaliation, suppose I don't want to be sent out like that. There must be a mechanism within the congregation, for example, within the diocese. Now you can immediately, there was also one point I said, any religious superior, suppose when he comes to know, he has to inform the Bangalore bishop and also the bishop of the place where the offense occurred. You can't keep it without his knowledge. Suppose a religious priest did it, bishop came to know. There must be networking between bishops and religious superiors. Both the bishops and the religious superiors are responsible for taking the necessary action. If the particular seminarian writes to the bishop himself and then requesting him also, I am in this situation, I want to protect my identity, then the bishop will deal with the matter through the nuncio, and his identity and secrecy will be protected. That's what the document says. Okay, one last question. Anybody who wants to? Any other thing? Anything else which I forgot, I do not know in the process? Yes. One question that's always asked is this unjust accusation. In civil law, there is punishment. 1 year imprisonment, fine, etc. If somebody is unjustly accusing, wrongly accusing, POCSO, we should not this, the focus of our document was this is not those who are unjustly accused, more the victims. And then during the conference in February this year, they spoke about it. We are indeed showing solidarity with him. Sometimes people think you are the culprit. I myself went through an agonizing experience for 3.5 months. My ID was used, email ID was used to send some anonymous mail against another staff member. Only after 3.5 months, I was vindicated. If I had died in the meantime, everybody would have thought that I am the culprit. But then we found out the culprit. Like that it can happen. That makes you more and more strengthened. Participate in the unjust suffering of all the prophets and saints. But then we have to show solidarity and celebrate those persons who have been accused like that. But what is the punishment we can give? If he is a priest, he will be warned. If you repeat that, we will take action against you. Warning. The person says, I am sorry, what more punishment we can do? And then if he is a layman, highest punishment is denying the sacraments. That too, when he repents, we have to forgive. But in the civil law, jail. We don't have power to jail those persons who are indulging in gossip and just. I want to tell you that on your part, especially men religious who are going to become, don't abuse children, don't abuse the women religious. So I have seen some priests, even religious priests, scolding the women religious from the pulpit. I used to say they will go to hell only. But if they go to the civil law, harassment of women at the workplace, all these priests, diocese priests, religious priests will be arrested. Thank God our religious sisters are good. They don't go to the police and betray. But some priests say, I will not come for mass. Who gave you the right? Who gave you the right? God gave you as a blessing, though you don't deserve it, to celebrate mass. This is also abuse of authority. Never abuse of authority. I want to conclude by saying, be known as prayerful persons, hardworking persons, two adjectives, and when you are dealing with persons, humble and compassionate. Respectful person will not, humble person will not abuse others. Compassionate persons will not abuse others. We are there to be blessing to others. Nobody should shed tears because of your selfishness. Because of your selfishness. Nobody. We are called to communicate healing to the people. We should not make people sick. Physically sick, mentally sick, emotionally sick, lifelong sick because of your one day's or a few hours pleasure. Be aware of it. Deal with people respectfully. Let us join the church in protecting, respecting, safeguarding minors. Let little children come to the Lord. Thank you very much.
We are beyond the time limit that was announced. You may be sometimes thinking that you are sent to the hunger chamber, as Maximilian Kolbe was said. But we religious and priests will not die. Something has to be injected into us. Jesus was explaining to his disciples the conditions and the demands of marriage and divorce and living together and so on. Hearing this, the disciples said it's better than not to marry. I got the same impression now. Father Alfred said it is better not to become very religious.